Can we just start with, you're writing a book on the history of capitalism. Do we have an addendum or an epilogue or a chapter for where we are right now in the viewpoint of capitalism, given that 60% of Democrats and a lot of young people are convinced that maybe it's the wrong system for us and we should do socialism?
Well, this is an issue which we discuss at length in the book, because as we move up through time, going back into the 1630s, we move up through time, we get ever closer to current policy. And where we come out at this particular stage is that there is stagflation ahead of us. And unless human nature is changed or does few tricks on us, this necessarily implies that real interest rates go up, because this is the tightest labor market I've ever seen. And so that means if rates go up, ultimately prices take hold. But concurrently, we've got a very slow productivity increase. 1.25%, maybe 1.5% a year, when we used to have twice that or more. This is having a significant impact on the GDP growth, and therefore it's ultimately the source of the populism which has infected the United States as it has Europe and others.
You point out that 10, 15, 20 years from now, the people receiving entitlements that they've earned throughout their life are going to vastly outnumber the people that are providing the work and the output to fund those entitlements. There's going to be a lot of people that are, and that's going to make it hard for productivity to go up, so it's going to be hard to grow.
Very much so. The Congressional Budget Office is currently forecasting very large increases in the deficit and therefore in the debt. And debt as a percent of GDP just a few years out, unless we reverse course, is getting close to the peacetime high.
No question, though, that our success has been part of the culture, the entrepreneurial culture you're talking about. But part of the thing that I wonder about is the real engine of the U.S. economy and success of our global ambition took place after effectively World War II.
No.
No. I think you don't think that's a. If you look at all of the U.S. companies,
it was the government.
That's what he's getting to. This is not an argument about the government. Okay. This is an argument about the rest of the world being out of business. Basically, until 1980, you look at wages in America, and it was the first time that they started to stagflate was effectively in 1980, when the rest of the world effectively came back online. So for 40 years, we were competing, or we had a monopoly on the world. Do you not believe that?
I just want to correct you on just points of fact about history. The really extraordinary period is between 1865 and 1914. That is the period when America goes from being an almost round country to being the dominant power in every sort of industry, from cars to steel to oil.
And it's hard for Adrian to say that because it was his country,
and it was my country that was being displaced by.
Exactly.
That's when the government is playing a very minimum role in.
I'm not talking about the government playing a role. I'm talking about the fact that for many years,
that's true.
The U.S. had a huge advantage over the rest of the world.
But it was an advantage that was created in the late 19th century by America's ability to create companies which are just the best in the world.
I think Andrew's saying we think we're exceptional, like the Belgians think they're exceptional.
Still there. Remember, China, theoretically our closest competitor, has a per capita real GDP only a third the size of the United States.
But they got a lot more people.
And that's basically where we were in 1960.
Right.
So what happens is, if you look at China, they're the biggest steel producer now by far. That's where the United States was in 1960.